Let's start with what happened to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they've had quite a week from last Sunday to this Sunday. Last Sunday, they became the team to suffer the biggest upset so far in the 2022 season. 9.5-point favorites on the closing line, lost straight up to the Steelers. But no, the Buccaneers outdid it 1 week later. 13-point favorites on the closing line to the Carolina Panthers, and the Panthers won by 18, 21-3. Only the fifth time in his career Tom Brady was held to 3 points or fewer, and the last time he was under 500 this deep into a season was literally 20 years ago. The year after the New England Patriots won the Super Bowl, they didn't get back to the playoffs, and they were around 500, and they were below 500 through 7 weeks. That's how long it's been. And the Patriots in 2002 lost 4 in a row to go to 3-4. These Buccaneers have lost 4 out of 5, and but for that horrendous call of roughing the passer on Grady Jarrett from a couple of weeks ago, they may have lost 5 in a row at this point. Myles?
Yeah, these Bucs stink, man. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, they stink on ice right now. And when you're losing a game like they lost it to the Carolina Panthers, a game against a team that's effectively playing a third-string quarterback, just traded one of its best, if not its best, offensive player all the way across the country to the San Francisco 49ers, traded another one of its top receivers earlier in that week. I mean, as an interim coach, what in the world is going on there? This is an ugly, ugly situation for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I mean, they've got to get it corrected very quickly. But I don't know what else to say other than they stink right now. It's bad, Mike. It's really bad.
And it's amazing because they were 2-0, and they beat the Cowboys with Dak Prescott for most of the game.
Yeah.
The running game is what's really betrayed them. I was looking at the game-by-game numbers for Leonard Fournette. He had over 100 week 1 in a victory. He was okay week 2. He's had some bad performances, and he was under 20 yards yesterday for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's a factor. And just like offense and defense are hand in glove, and we get so caught up in specific stats intended for one unit or the other, the amount of pressure a bad defense puts on an offense is underrated. The amount of pressure a bad offense puts on a defense is underrated. And the pressure a bad running game puts on a passing game. Because let's just think about it. And Jason Garrett was explaining this last night on a video that we did in the third quarter of the Sunday night game. We'll talk about the Sunday night game at some point, but inconsequential to where things currently are, big picture in the NFL. We'll get to it. A lot of times we get right out of the gates with Sunday Night Football. We'll get to it. But the comment he made was, that running game. And it's very simple when you think about it. We get caught up in numbers and stats and analytics. If you have a running game that is gashing the defense, and they fall into the what in the hell is going on mindset. And you got to, okay, we just got steamrolled for 7 yards. Here, let's go do it again. Oh, there goes another 10. Oh, we got to do it again. You eventually skew toward trying to stop that from happening. And that's when you're ripe for play action pass. That's when you're ripe to get burned on a go route because a safety is coming up close to the line of scrimmage to try to keep that damage from continuing against the run. Now, that's an extreme example, but that's what happens. If a team is running well, it's inevitable that at the right moment you are going to sting them with a pass. And so if the Buccaneers can't run, it makes it even harder for Tom Brady to get his side of the ball going, Myles.
Well, right. And I think that you don't want a 45-year-old to be out there throwing it nearly 50 times a game. Right. I mean, it sort of worked last year where Tom Brady's setting records for completions and all these different types of things. He's got so many attempts and he's leading the league and all that. But that's not what you want to do. That's not sustainable. We all know it's not sustainable. And obviously the interior of that offensive line has been an issue for them. I mean, it's a protection issue, but also it comes to running the ball. Right. And if you can't run the ball And it's just like you said, you don't have that threat of the run game. It makes everything that much harder. And as good as Brady is, and as good as his arm still is, you start to see sort of the dents in the armor, right? That it's not the same as it used to be. Nothing is really smooth. Even when Tom Brady's getting a couple of completions to Mike Evans, it's like they get down the field to a certain point, and then all of a sudden it's just like, things just don't work anymore, and everything's so disjointed. You don't have any sort of sense of smoothness or rhythm or timing and all these different things. It just doesn't look right. So when Tom Brady's 32-49 for 290 and he's getting 5.9 yards per attempt, that's so much lower than it was last year, Mike. I mean, it was 7.4 yards per attempt last year, right? 7.6 in 2020 when they won the Super Bowl. So nothing right now is working. And I think it does stem from the fact that they don't even have the semblance of a threat of a run game. And that really, really affects everything else.
And it's funny, you and I were thinking of the exact same stat. I'm looking at the yards per attempt for Brady's entire career. Several years back, Kevin Gilbride, when he was part of our afternoon show, we were having a discussion before the show, and the topic came up of what stats coaches find significant, and he said yards per attempt. Yards per attempt tell you whether or not an offense is truly working. And at the time, anything above 7 was good. We've now evolved to the point where it's more like 8 for it to be really, really effective. I'm looking at Brady here, 6.6 so far this year. And yesterday was bad because it was 280 yards or so on 49 passes, which works out to not good. But you're right. Last year, 7.4. The year before that, 7.6. When you look at the years of his career, nothing, with one exception, in the years since 2004 are in that range of 6.6. I mean, all the way back to 2007, their magical year, it was 8.3 yards per attempt.
Right.
The only other time he finished the season 6.6, he's at 6.6 right now, was 2019, his last year with the Patriots, when he had nothing. He had no help. He's got help this year, though. He's got a great array of receivers. That's what makes this so confounding. It looked like on paper something that was going to work. And hey, Myles, we may be having a different conversation. You know, it reminded me of week 1, Packers at Vikings, Christian Watson, to borrow a Bruce Arians phrase, wide ass open, ball hits him in the hands, and he drops it. And you go back to that moment, and you make that a touchdown, and you tie the game at 7-7, and everything changes after that. Well, yesterday, what do we have? Tommy finds Mike Evans, and I guess it's fitting that it's a Bruce Arians line since he's still lurking around there somewhere, wide ass open, and the ball hits him in the hands, and he does and I know Myles won't get this reference because the movie came out in the 1980s. This is Robin Williams in The Best of Times, where I've got it, no, I don't have it. That changes everything. You score that touchdown on that opening drive. That's what you're supposed to do against a team that is falling apart and deliberately taking its pieces apart and selling them off. And there's rumors about other guys maybe available. This would have been a romp potentially for the Buccaneers if they could set the tone that way. And Mike Evans himself said after the game that the light went off for them after that and they couldn't get it back. Now, I'm stunned by that you don't have the leadership on your team to put that behind you. You've got to put that behind you. But, Myles, that was a great throw by Tom Brady. We'd be having maybe a different conversation today. We wouldn't be talking about the Buccaneers right out of the gates. They would have done what they were supposed to do, steamroll the Panthers, and they'd be a mention somewhere in hour 2. Instead, that happens. The Buccaneers don't score a point the entire first half. It's 7-0. Steve Wilkes told me yesterday that the support staff put signs up all over the locker room, finish, 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 to encourage the Panthers to keep going when they had the Bucs on the ropes. And you go back to that moment, and that's the other thing Wilkes said to me. When Mike Evans drops, I'm thinking of our sports medicine analyst, Mike Evans drops that ball, Steve Wilkes says, football gods are on our side today. And that's a real dynamic in football. You get a play like that goes your way and doesn't go the other team's way, that can be the first piece in a puzzle that works out in your favor.
Well, it's funny because I think Sims says something like this too, but you always talk about in football, don't let a team beat us twice, you know? And last week, the Patriots, man, I did it. The Buccaneers go and then they go play the Steelers and then they have a horrible game, right? They go and they lose to a team that's got nobody really playing in their secondary. They're missing TJ Watt. They're missing all kinds of stuff, right? And then they lose a really, really bad game. And then you go down to Charlotte and you're playing the Panthers and you have something like that happen really early. And then the mentality might set in of, oh Lord, here it goes again. We're having another game like this. And if Mike Evans is saying the light goes out, like that's exactly what happened. So they let that Steelers loss linger in their minds so much that it came out and it just so happened to basically beat them again. That's not acceptable. This is a championship team from a couple of years ago. A lot of those pieces are still there. There's still this. Mike Evans is still there. Tom Brady is still there. It is ridiculous to me that a team that should have a sense of real urgency coming into this week just doesn't seem to feel it. I don't know what's going on there, but there's some bad stuff. I really don't like the vibes coming out of Tampa with that team. It's just ugly, and they've got to fix it. And maybe being on Thursday Night Football is the best thing for them because it means they got to flush that thing real quick.
Well, and we're never going to get a straight answer from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because the perspective when you're on the ship that's sinking is very different when you're standing on the shore pointing at the ship that's sinking and saying, that thing's sinking.
The ship is sinking.
So, yes. And they can't, they feel compelled to tell us something other than the truth. They're not going to come out and lead with, man, it's just a mess right now. Boy, there's no leadership here. Hey, Tom Brady disappearing for 11 days during training camp, whatever the reason, isn't the way to set the tone going into the season. Tom Brady disappearing on a Friday night, not coming back, and not being here for Saturday morning walkthrough and meeting, that really takes a toll on his authority on the sideline. In the aftermath of him chewing on the offensive lineman last week, everybody said the right thing because what are they going to say? Tom Brady's an ass? What are they going to say? We've had enough of this guy? What are they going to say? You know what? If he's just partially checked out, he may as well go ahead and check out and we'll try our luck with Blaine Gabbert. They're not going to say that. That doesn't stop them from thinking it. And something's wrong here. Something's clearly wrong, and it traces to Brady not being all in. Like you said last week, I think it was, Myles, the idea that when he issued the statement, when he retired, he can't make the full commitment anymore. And he's not making the full commitment anymore, and he doesn't seem to be as engaged. At least break a tablet yesterday. Show us you still give a crap. Do something. There was no video of an animated Tom Brady. He's just accepting. They've worked their way through anger, denial, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And here we are at 7 weeks. And it's only 7 weeks. There's 10 games left. That's what's amazing about this. So you're right. They get a chance to flush that thing on Thursday night. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.